today I'm going to show you how to make this Rivoli bracelet. That's my clasping, and these are the Rivolis that I just did a simple bezel and then joined them together with a cute little embellishment in the middle between each of the Rivolis. So that's what that looks like. This has turned out to be exactly, well, actually just about a 1/4 inch over 7, so 7 1/4 inches, and it fits me very well. My wrist is 6 1/2 inches, and I like to have a little movement, and of course you always have to leave room for the bulk of the bracelet itself on your wrist. So this turned out really well, and of course you can make yours longer or shorter by adding more of the division in between, or perhaps at the end here, or you can use another Rivoli too. So let's go ahead and, well, let me take it off and let you see what it actually looks like. This is what it looks like. And we'll go ahead and look at what it takes to make this particular project. Okay, for this project today, you're going to need some 14mm round Rivolis. This is a Swarovski, and it is a champagne color. Then you will need some 8/0 seed beads, some 11/0 seed beads in 2 colors, and some 15/0 seed beads. All of my seed beads are Toho. And this is a metallic bronze, my 8/0. My 11/0 is a blue turquoise, opaque, and my 11/0 here is a Montana gold, and this 15/0 is a bronze iris. So then you will need some 4mm Bicone crystals. This is an opaque turquoise Swarovski, and you will need some thread. So I am going to use 8-pound Nanofil in the crystal color. You can use smoke Fireline also if you're going to use darker beads like I am. That'll work well. I just decided I'm going to use the 8-pound Nanofil, and I'm going to use a size 12 beading needle to help go through my 15/0 seed beads. So if you're using Fireline, you'll want to probably use a 6-pound. An 8-pound can work, but probably a size 12 beading needle will be best. You can try a 10 and see how it works with your 15/0s. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so for this project we're going to make individual components as we bezel the Rivolis, and then we will join them all together. So when you start, you want to thread your needle with an arm length and a half of thread. So just measure, like from your fingertips, stretch your arm straight out and measure to the middle of your chest. Should be more than enough to do a component. And then on 2 of your components you'll leave a much longer thread, so you'll start with perhaps a full wingspan so that you can join the components together. And for this first one, I'm just going to use an arm's length and a half and show you exactly how to bezel your Rivoli. Now we're using a 14mm Rivoli. I do not really recommend for this particular bezel a smaller one, because the way that it covers the top of the Rivoli, it'll cover it too much. So 14mm should be what you use for this particular project. So let's go ahead and start by picking up 2 15/0 seed beads and then an 11/0, and I'm going to use my turquoise color 11/0. So for this, you're going to want to put on 2 15/0s and an 11/0, 2 15/0s and 11/0 until you have 8 11/0s on, with 15/0s in between each one. You'll start with your 2 15/0s and end with an 11/0. So let me go ahead and pick that up. So I have 2 and an 11/0, and then now I have 2 11/0s. I'll pick up 2 15/0s. And now I have 3 11/0s, 2 15/0s, 4, 2 15/0s, 5, 2 15/0s, 6, 2 15/0s, 7, 2 15-0s. That's a funny 15-0. Let me get a different one. Sorry about that, but don't want funny ones. Come here. And 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 11-0s with 2 15-0s in between. Start with 15-0s, end with an 11-0. And then you will bring these down to the end of your thread. Leave a couple inches to hold on to, and then go back through all of your beads from the tail side, making sure not to miss any, because if you miss a couple, your circle is going to be funny. It's not going to lay right. So just start going back through with all of your beads here. And I will just continue until I get back to where my tail thread and my working thread meet. Here. Now we're going to tie a small knot here, just because as we sew back through these to make our bezel, they want to slip, and we really don't want any slippage. So just take your tail thread and your working thread and make sure that your knot goes down between those 2 15-0s and 11-0 where they meet, right there. And then just tie one more small knot, making sure that that goes down in between your beads also. And this is what you should have. Now we're going to pick up, I'm going to tuck my tail this way, I'm going to pick up my needle, and I'm going to go through this 8-0 and these 2 15-0s and exit the next 8-0 right here. Make sure your beads aren't so tight that you can't get between them, but you don't want any slack either. And make sure that you have some room, just enough to work with. And then we're going to do a little unit of right angle weave right here. Let's get a little closer. I'm coming out of this 8-0 seed bead. I'm going to pick up 3 8-0 seed beads, or excuse me, 11-0 seed beads onto my needle. And we're going to go back through the opposite side of the 11-0 we're coming out of. Let me move these 15-0s out of my way just so I can work a little better. There we go. And then now that I'm coming out of the bead I started in, I'm going to sew up the side bead here. Then I'm going to sew through the top bead here, one bead at a time, holding on to my beads and giving a small tug so that I retain a very nice shape. And then I'm going to pick up 3 more of my 11-0s. Now, this might pull out of shape a little bit as I do this, but I have to sew back down through to get to my original circle, so that will secure it. If you want to, you can go ahead and sew through the entire unit and come back out the top bead and then make your next unit if you would like. Now I've got 3 11-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this end. I'm going to go into the opposite end of the top 11-0 in that right angle weave unit, and I'm going to pull these down. And now I'm going to sew back around this unit, one bead at a time, to make sure I get a nice shape. And I'm going to put my fingers together here, and I'm going to pull a little tiny bit after each bead, just to give myself some nice tension. These units need to be very nice and neat, and they need to have good tension and good strength, or you're just going to have a mess. Now we're going to go back into the bead that we started in here. Gone through the entire unit here. Now I'm going to sew through this bead and through this bead right here. And you should have a nice, neat 2 units. So as you come back into this bead that you're connected to, go ahead and go through the next 2 15-0s, the 11-0, and the next 2 15-0s after that 11-0. So our goal is to get to the next 11-0. We're going to skip one. We're coming out of this one, we're going to skip this one, go through all the beads in between, and then go into the next 11-0. So we're going to put a right angle weave unit on every other 11-0. In our original circle, we're going to put 2 units of right angle weave. So pick up 3 of your 11-0s, like so. And then go into the opposite side of the bead you're coming out of. Pull. And then again, I'm going to just flip this over so I can sew up to the top bead. I'm going to go through this bead, put my fingers together, give a little tug, make sure that I have nice tension, go through the top bead, and same thing, just a little tug, and then I'm going to pick up 3 more 8-0 seed, or 11-0 seed beads. I don't know why I want to call these 8-0s. They are 11-0s. Then we're going to go into the opposite side we're coming out of, right here. Hold your fingers over it, pull your thread through, give a tiny little tug, and then I'm going to turn it over just because it's easier to sew back through my beads. I'm going to sew through 1 bead at a time. I'm going to go through the side bead here, give a little tug, because I lost my tension, so I have to get my tension back here. Then I'm going to go through this bead on top. Then I'm going to go through this side bead here. And like I said, if you're having a hard time getting nice tension and making your units look good, you can sew around the entire unit. You don't have to just do it the way I'm doing it. But this should be plenty as long as you keep your tension good. Now I'm coming out of the connecting bead. I'm going to go down into the side bead. Pull my thread through, guide it, and tug. Then I'm going to go through the original bead that I started in. Then I'll go through the 2 15-0s after that bead, the 11-0, and the 2 15-0s after that 11-0 to get over to the next 11-0 seed bead. So I'm just going to go through all these beads here, and then I'm going to go through this 11-0 right here. And here we will start another unit of right angle weave. We'll do 2 units, sew through, skip the next 11-0, and then we'll put another 2 units here. So I have finished my next 2 units of right angle weave on the next 2 beads. So as you can see, we had 8 beads in our original circle, and we just went on every other one and made a double unit of right angle weave, just like so. Now I have just made my last one. Now I have to sew back through this entire unit and then sew back up to the top. I want to make sure this is secure. So I've made this unit. Now I'm going to go down into this bead here, and we're going to secure this by sewing all the way down like we've been doing, but instead of going into the next few beads on the circle, we're just going to come back up. So I'm back here right on the original bead, which as we've been doing it, we would then go through beads on the original circle and make our next one. But that's not what we're going to do. We're done with that, so we're just going to sew back up this side now. Into this one here, and then into this one here, and then into this one on top. Now I'm going to cut down my tail here just to get it out of my way. I'm just going to cut it and leave a small tag so that nothing pulls through, and I can burn that down later. But at least it's pretty much out of my way now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of my Rivolis and I'm going to turn it upside down. Actually, let's do that in a minute. Let's connect a few so that it stays in there better and you don't have to try to balance this. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 2 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0. So now I'm using my Iris Bronze 15-0s again, and just picking up the two 15-0s and the 11-0 to match what's between these units here, just like so. And then I'm going to go from this top bead to the next top bead in the direction my thread is coming out. So don't cross over and go this way, it won't lay right. Go from this bead to this bead and just pull it together like so. This will start to cup up and roll around so that we can actually make a bezel. So now pick up two 15-0s and an 11-0 and two 15-0s, and we'll go into the next right angle weave unit. And then two 15-0s and an 11-0 and two 15-0s, and go into the next one. And now we're going to put in our Rivoli, the shiny side down. So just slide it in here, and that does make a difference, so make sure the shiny side is down. And just hold on to your beads the best you can. We'll have to arrange this a couple of times to get it centered. Pick up two 15-0s, an 11-0, and two 15-0s. And we're going to go into this bead where we started. Now I want you to make sure that you go through the right bead, because the side bead in this unit of right angle weave is sticking up too. You want to make sure that you don't go into that one. You want to go into the top one that you started in. So your 15-0s should be right behind that one. That should give you a clue of which one to go into. Now hold on to your Rivoli. Hold on to all the beads and the needle and the thread and pull. Now, you're not going to get it perfect. It's not going to look great or anything. Just get it in there the best you can. And then go into the next beads right behind the 11-0 you're exiting from. Go over to the next 11-0 and pull again. Now, at this point, you have to kind of arrange these beads, because it's going to look like there's gaps in the thread and it's not going to fit. And that's just because your 11-0 or your units of right angle weave need to be centered correctly on the Rivoli. So this middle bead that connects the two sections should be right on the edge. And it's going to take a minute or two to get this tight and get it arranged to where the Rivoli is centered perfectly. So we're just going to sew through it a couple times so we can get some tension here. So I'm coming out of this 11-0. I'm just going to go ahead and sew around. Make sure you don't miss any of your beads, like so. And I'm going to go through this side too. Here. And I'm starting to get a little bit more tension now, and I can just kind of push my 11-0s until I have my Rivoli centered nice, and there will be less gapping in my thread. So I'm going to go back up through here, this last one here, and through that 11-0, pull, center, and see, it looks pretty good there. So now I'm going to sew through this right angle weave just to secure it. So I'm going to go through here, give a tug, make sure you retain your tension, because you don't want to turn it back over and have big gaps. Make sure your tension is retained pretty well as you do it. So I've sewn around this entire unit of right angle weave. I'm back in the original one I started in on the back here. And you can see there's a little bit of room between my beads, but no huge gaps. And that's okay. I don't mind having a little bit of room, because that's going to help me do my next. Let me back off. I hope I was in frame. That's going to help me do my next step, to have a tiny bit of room, but you do not want to really see big gaps in your beads. So until you have it looking fairly tight and having your right angle weave centered right on the Rivoli, you need to keep working at it and arranging it until it becomes really nice and pretty. Then we're coming out of this 11-0 here after sewing all the way around the unit. We're going to go up into the side one, and then we're going to go into the middle one that connect the two units. So you have a unit here and a unit here. You're going to come up into that one that's right on the edge of the Rivoli, right there. And you can turn your piece over. And at this point, well, maybe I'll wait till I'll probably use my thread zapper and just take that off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm coming out of this middle bead here. I'm going to pick up 4 11-0 seed beads onto my needle. Or not 11-0, excuse me. These are my bronze iris 15-0s. So I'm going to pick up 4 15-0 seed beads and go into this middle seed bead. Now this middle seed bead is tight, so as you see I'm kind of pushing it forward with my fingernail just enough to where I can get through it, like so. And I'm going to pull these 4 beads around. Then I'm going to pick up 4 more, and I'm coming out of this seed bead on the top of my Rivoli here. I'm going to go into this middle connecting 11-0 here. So right into the middle one and pull. Make sure I have 4. Looks like I only have 3. Let me back myself out here because I didn't get enough 15-0s. Of course, I had to get caught under that thread there. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out and pick up the proper number, and we'll do that again. I need to thread my needle. I'll be right back. So I have 4 15-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. I picked up 4 15-0 seed beads. I'm going to go into this 11-0 here in the center between the 2 units of right angle weave and pull. And then I'm going to pick up 4 more. And do the same thing from here to the center bead on the Rivoli, right here. Go in at an angle and you should be able to go in just fine. And pull. Pick up 4 more, and we're going to work our way all the way around doing this. So 4 15-0 seed beads from this bead to the center bead between the right angle weave units. And then again 4 and up into the bead in the middle here. Right there. I'm going to continue doing this all the way around. So I'm coming out of here, we're going to here. And again. And this is the one where my little extra thread is from my tail. So I'm going to grab my thread zapper and get rid of that. You can also use your lighter if you'd like. Just be careful not to get a big blob in the middle of your, well, I might have to use lighter. I don't know where my thread zapper went. Okay, so obviously I put it away really good. So I'm just going to hide my thread over here so that I don't get it. And I'm just going to burn this down enough, but I'm going to make sure it doesn't block my bead. And if I see that I can see it later, I'll doctor it up with my thread burner. Now I'm going to pick up 4 more 15-0 seed beads, and I'm going to go down into this bead here. And as I go into this bead, since it is the one that I started in, I'm also going to go into the first 15-0 just on the other side of it. So I'm going to go through here and just this 15-0 from the first embellishment of 15-0s that I put on. Now, we're going to turn our piece over and connect these back beads. We're coming out of this 15-0 here. Because we're using that one, we only need to pick up 3 15-0s this time. So pick up 3 15-0s onto your needle and then go into this center 11-0 here. And you can see I have a tiny bit of slack in here, but by the time I get done with this, my slack will be fine. I tried adding more beads so that there wasn't a tiny bit of slack in there, but I found that it was beneficial to have it, and I also found that any other number of beads did not work. So don't worry about it too much, it'll work itself out. Now I'm coming out of this bead here, I'm going to go into this 15-0 here on the middle unit that I put on in my first embellishment. I'm going to go through that 15-0, this 11-0, and the 15-0 on the other side of it, the 11-0 here. And I'm going to pull my 3 15-0s down on the back. Make sure that they do not tangle, untwist them, give them a nice tug, get some good tension going on there, because that's going to pull that slack out of your last circle on the back here. And then pick up 3 15-0s. Coming out of this 15-0 here, going to here. Let me back off because I'm afraid that I'm getting out of camera, and I hope I was in camera. Pull this down. It's very repetitive, same thing all the way around. So if I was out of camera, just watch what I do now and you should be able to figure out what I did. 3 15-0s. I'm going to go up through the 15-0, the 11-0, and the 15-0 here on the corner of my next unit of right angle weave. So go through this 15-0, go through this 11-0, go through this 15-0, and then I will turn it back over. Watch as I pull it through because it likes to twist. I will untwist the beads. And that's just the way I was holding my needle. That you may not have that issue, but give it a nice tug and then pick up 3 more and go into the next one. I'm coming out of the 15-0, go into this 11-0 and pull. Make sure you have really good tension. Don't break your thread, but have really good tension. And do it again. Pick up 3 15-0s. Go into the 15-0 right in front of that 11-0 and then into the 15-0 behind it, right on your corner unit. And pull. And then we have one more to attach. So pick up 3 15-0s. You're coming out of the 15-0 behind this 11-0. You're going to go into this center 11-0 on the back of your Rivoli and pull. And then pick up 3 15-0s. And go into the 15-0, 11-0, 15-0 here in the corner, the last one. Why I keep sliding my hands forward. I seem to want to be out of camera no matter what I do for myself. And this is what your unit should look like. And this is what the back should look like. It's very pretty. Everything's organized. Everything's tight. Everything looks nice. And then you're going to, you're coming out of this 15-0 here. So we're just going to slide up into these 3 15-0s on the top. So I'm coming out here. I'll get you close. Hopefully I can stay in camera. And I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to go up into these 3. I'm going to go up into this one here. And now it is incredibly tight. So if your needle wants to come up through the 15-0, that's fine too. So what I've just done is I've come up through all 3 of these. This 11-0, these 2 15-0s, and I'm exiting this 11-0 here. This gets me back into my right angle weave unit so that I can sew up into it. It also secures my last embellishment. Give it a nice tug. Make sure none of your embellishments that you've put on the edges are loose. And then sew into, from this bead here into this sidearm bead of your right angle weave. And then into the top 11-0 on your corner here. And do not go through either 15-0 seed bead. And pull. And now you're going to pick up an 8-0. I'm using my bronze 8-0s, a turquoise 11-0, and a bronze 8-0. And I'm just going to put a unit of right angle weave here, then also around and put one here, and that will make this particular unit ready to attach to my other units that I'm going to make. So I'm just going to go into the opposite side of the bead here that I'm coming out of and pull this down. And then I'm going to sew around to make sure it's secure. So also here, here, and here. Now we will make one of our units without one of these ends. Most of them will have on both ends. We're going to make one unit without it on two ends. And after I've made my amount of units and come back and shown you what to make, I will clarify that so that you can understand exactly what units to make. So now I've just secured this. Now I'm coming out of this 11-0 and this 15-0 here. I'm just, let me get close so you can see which 15-0 I'm coming out. Oops, let it clear up here. Focus, focus, focus. I guess that's as close as I'm going to get. So I'm coming out of this 11-0, this 15-0. I'm going to sew up through here. Make sure you go through all 15-0s. Actually, let's do this. This is going to be easier because it's looser on the back and you're not going to mess up your pretty arrangement on the front. So we're coming out of this 15-0 here. We're going to go through the beads on the back and sew all the way around till we get to the right angle weave unit that's directly opposite the one we just put the bigger right angle weave unit on. So I'm coming out of this 15-0. I'm going to go through these 15-0s here. I'm going to work my way down through these 15-0s, this 11-0, these 15-0s, and this 11-0 and come through. And then I'm just going to sew all the way around the middle circle. Make sure that this is nice and tight and looks pretty because that's going to secure that unit you just made. Now I'm coming out of this unit. I'm going to go into these beads here. These ones on the back are looser, easier to work through, and you're not risking messing up the front of your piece. So now we're going to come through these two 15-0s, 11-0, 15-0, exit this 15-0 in this unit here. And this unit happens to be the one directly across from the one I put this unit on. So we're going to work our way up to the top and do the exact same thing on this end. So I'm going to turn this over. Or actually, I'm not going to turn it over yet. I'm coming out of this bead here. I'm going to go into this bead. And then I can turn it over and I'm going to come through the top edge bead right here. And this is kind of hard to do without getting through those 15-0s. So go at an angle so that you can get through just the 11-0 and none of your 15-0s on either side. Then pick up your 8-0, 11-0, 8-0 and go through the other side. Go through it at an angle again. Pull. And then come up through here. Boy, it's quiet once the air conditioner goes off. I feel like I was screaming over the air conditioner. If I was, I apologize because I know that can be obnoxious, but okay, so I've just sewn all the way around and secured it. I'm going to come back through this 11-0 right here. Sew up the side. Sew up through this one. And we can tie them off, and or you can make sure that you leave your thread long for two of them. You need to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and tie this one off, and then I'm going to use a longer length of thread on two of them and leave my thread long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this thread bridge right here between this 11-0 and this 8-0 right here, and I'm going to pull. Make sure you don't pull your thread out of whack and your beads out of whack. If you do, sew back through it. It should be okay. So now we're going to see, I can kind of sew back through it. I can sew through the whole unit if I need to, if I pulled it out of whack. But it's fine. Now I'm going to go down into this 11-0 here, as I'm coming out of this 8-0, going to this 11-0. Then I'm going to go back down into the main unit here that's on the back of my Rivoli. And I'm going to come through this bead here, couple of the 11-0s and 15-0s. Also back around the bottom here. These beads are a little looser, so they're easy to work with. And I am going to tie another knot, maybe on my right angle weave here if I can manage it. Nope, can't manage it. So I'm going to go here. I'm just going to sew around a couple more, and I'll just cut off my thread because that should be secure enough. So there we go. I'll cut off my thread. I'll leave a little tag so I can burn it down. And on the back here, you don't have to worry about too much plugging my beads because I'm not going to sew back through these beads anymore on the back of my Rivoli here. I'm just going to cut this off. I've got a tag of thread here. I'm going to burn it down like so. And that is my component. So continue making components until you have, okay, so as you can see, I have made 5 units. And I did go ahead and put the right angle weave on both sides, so make sure you do that. Do not leave one without the right angle weave. I did leave 2 of them with longer threads. We'll use 1 thread to attach the clasping on the very last side. We'll use the other thread to put the clasping on and then sew through the next few units to put them together. We're coming out of this 11-0 seed bead right here, and we are going to pick up 2 8-0 seed beads, and we're going to go back into the 11-0 on the opposite side, like so. Pull these down to where they just kind of flare out like this, and then sew back through them. Now that you've sewn through and secured this, we're going to go down into the 8-0 on the first unit of right angle weave attached to the component. So go through that one. Go through the 11-0 on the component, trying not to get your 15-0s on either side, so just do it at an angle. Go up through. Go through this 8-0 here, and then pick up an 11-0 seed bead and go up through the 8-0. So I'm using my turquoise, I'm going up through this 8-0 here. And then I'm going to come down through this 8-0 here. And I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and go back down into the 8-0 beneath the one I'm coming out of, right here. And then go into the 11-0 on the unit again. Or on the component, excuse me. I'm going to come up through all 3 beads on this side. So I'm going to go through the 8-0, the 11-0, and the 8-0 on my new component that I just, or new joint that I'm building here. Now, just to secure this, I'm just going to go through the 2 8-0s. So I'm coming out of this 8-0, I'm going to go into this one. And then I'm going to go back into the one I started in. This should straighten these out, like so. They may be tipped slightly, but they'll be a little straighter. Then you're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and an 8-0 seed bead, and then your clasp. So I'm going to use the round side. So I'm going to pick up, I'm going to drop this 11-0 and 8-0 down. I'm going to go into the 8-0 seed bead and just the 8-0. And then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead And I'm using my other color, my Montana Gold now, and my 11-0s. You can use the turquoise if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and use the Montana Gold. Then I'm going to come back through all 3 of these beads on this side. So I'm coming out of the 8-0 here under the clasp, go into all 3 of these beads. Then I'm going to go into this 8-0, or 11-0, excuse me, on the component. Then back up through all 3 of these beads on this side. Then I'm going to secure this by going back up through the 11-0 and 8-0 and the clasp. Now you can see it's kind of stretching my piece apart, but that's okay because I'll pull it back together like so. And then I'm going to come back down around. Instead of going all the way down through my 11-0s and this 11-0 on my component again, which can start to get tight, I'm just going to go all the way through this 11-0 here, and then I'm going to go through the middle 11-0 here. As I do it, I'll just poke through the back because this one's laying sideways, so you have to go through it sideways. And then I'm going to come up through the 11-0 here. And up through the beads here. So that will just secure things a little bit better and help with all the massive amount of passes we're going through that 11-0 there. So just come up through the 8-0 and the clasp here. And then come back down through it again. So come around into the 8-0, back down into all the beads here. Right here. Pull. Arrange things, make sure they look good. And then come down into this 8-0 here, into the 11-0 on the component, and just the 11-0 if you can do it. Turn your piece over. Now because these beads back here are a little bit looser and easier to sew through, when we sew through to get to our next component or our next joint connection, we will sew through the back. So I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. I'm going to go into this one here. And then I am going to sew all the way around my beads in the circle on the back here. So I'm going to go through the 15-0s, the 11-0, the 15-0s. Just make sure you don't skip any. Just take a few at a time. Make sure you get all the way to this right angle weave unit where our attachment is connected. Oops, just go through that 11-0. So I'm going to sew around this right angle weave unit right here to get up into this one. So I'm going to go through here, just this 11-0, then through this 11-0 here, up through the 8-0 here, and into the 11-0 here. Now I can turn it over and you can see I'm ready to attach my next component. So I will grab another component and set it aside. First we're going to make a little extension in between the two, embellish it, and then we'll attach the next one. So let's start by picking up, we're going to do the same thing we did before, pick up 2 8-0 seed beads, like so. Go into the 11-0 you're coming out of on the opposite side. And then go up through the 8-0, go back down through the 8-0 on the other side, and then pick up an 11-0 And I'm going to use my turquoise color. Go down into it. The 8-0 underneath, excuse me. Go down into it, doesn't tell you much. Go down into the 8-0, right underneath the 8-0 you're coming out of. Pull it together. Go into the 11-0 that you're attaching to on the component here. And then up through this 8-0. And then pick up an 11-0 seed bead and come up through this 8-0. Now we're going to sew these two 8-0s together to straighten them out. So we're coming out of this 8-0, we're going to go into this 8-0 right here. And then up into this 8-0 here. Now if your beads are sloppy, they don't look good, whatever, then you can sew back up through them. But if everything looks good, then we want to move on because we don't want to fill these up too much with thread. So, and you will see a little tiny bit of thread in the stitch, so if you want to use smoke Fireline, that will work out fine too. But you have to remember this is under magnification. To the naked eye, you're really not going to see it that much anyway. So, let's pick up two 8-0 seed beads. We're coming out of this side here. We're going to go down into all three of these beads here. We're going to go through the 11-0 we're attaching to one more time. Though I know I said it's full of thread, but we're going to go through it anyway. Just to make sure that this first one is on here nice and secure. Go up through all three of these beads on this side now. And come out this one that you just added here. And then go in between the two. So you're coming out of this 8-0, you're going to go into this 8-0, and we're going to secure it and straighten it out. Because I really don't want it to lay like a herringbone. I just want the beads to be double width so that I can play with them a little bit more. Now I'm going to pick up two 8-0 seed beads. I'm going to just come down into these two on this side right here. And then pull these down, lay them out, and then I'm going to come up into these three on this side. And then I'm going to go into the 8-0 next to the one I'm coming out of, and then back up the one that I started in. It just makes a little bit more secure so that you have a nice secure joint. Herringbone, if you don't secure it, can be a little weak for a joint between units like this. Now we're going to embellish this unit. So I'm going to pick up one of my Bicone crystals, but first I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a Bicone crystal, and then an 11-0, and I'm going to use my Montana Gold color 11-0s now. And then I'm going to go into the bottom of this column of 3 8-0s. So I'm coming out of this 8-0 here, I'm going to go into the bottom here, and I'm going to pull this up. You may recognize this from the tiny tennis bracelet. It's the same basic thing. Now we're going to go into the next column of 8-0s. So we've got this crystal laying on top here. We are going to move over into all three of these 8-0s and exit through the third one. Pull. Pick up an 11-0 seed bead and go through the Bicone crystal. Sorry, this shouldn't be this hard. There we go. I'm going to just kind of secure the crystal a little bit by putting my thumb over it and then pull my thread through. Pick up an 11-0 seed bead, come back through all three of these 8-0s on this side. Make sure that that 11-0 goes over where it's supposed to. And now you've got a nice little turquoise embellishment on your beads. You're going to go down through, so you're coming out at the top of these 3 8-0s over here. We're going to go down through these 3 8-0s on this side. And now we're prepared to make our next connection to our
Okay,
next
so now
unit.
we're coming out of this 11 or 8 seed bead here after attaching our
Bicone crystal. We are going to pick up our unit next. So we're coming out of this 8, we're going to grab our next component here and go through the 11 on one of the ends where we have prepared with right angle weave. Go through that 11, and then I'm just going to gently turn it over. I'm coming out of this 8, I've got my component attached here. I'm going to go into this 8 here. I'm actually going to go into all 3 of them on this side. And then pull my thread through. And then I'm going to cross over, go through all 3 of these right here. Pull my thread up through and come through this 11 seed bead on the component, like so. Now we are going to go up into the 8 seed bead on the component right here. Then we're going to go through the 11, attaching the right angle unit to the component. So this one here, I'm trying to get past that 15 here. Go through like so. Do not go through the 15. Pull down or pull your thread through and then go down into this 8 right here. See if I can pull this through. And I'm just going to turn it over so you can see what I've got. This is what it looks like so far. So now we need to add 2 11 seed beads to finish out the attachment. So we're going to pick up an 11 in turquoise here. We're coming out of this 8, we're going to go into this 8 here. And I'm going to turn it over again just so you can see it. And I'll go ahead and go through all 3 8 on this side. Pull that down secure. I'll go through this 8 here on this side, go through all 3 of them in that column. Then I'm going to pick up an 11 seed bead in my turquoise color, go up through this 8 right here. Okay, then I am going to sew through this 11 seed bead attaching to my component. Now if you feel like you need to, you can sew just through this right angle weave unit here. This 11 this 8 this 11 this 8 You can if you want. I feel like it's on there pretty good, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I'm coming out of this 11 here. Make sure I didn't go through that 15 and I did. So I'm going to back myself out of this 15 and I'm going to go up into this 11 seed bead here. And then I'm going to go through this 11 and sew through the 11 or the 11 and 15 O's on the back of this component until I can work my way all the way up here to put my next unit on. So we'll sew all the way through. And like I said before, if your beads were a little bit loose, you can see how there's a little bit of thread here on the back of these. It's okay, just as long as you finish your component with them as neatly as possible. Because as we sew through them and even after we put our embellishments on in the very beginning stage, and then you sew through them, you can tighten those up. So, and besides that, we don't want them really tight because obviously we need to get through them again. But don't worry about them too much if they're not really, really tight when you finish your components. Sometimes they're on at funny angles, so you can only go through a few. I was trying to go through 4. You're just going to have to work your way through it. Some of your components will be a little tighter than others, of course. It's just the way handmade stuff works. Then, once I've gotten to this 11 I'm going to go up into this one here, into this one here. avoiding that 15-0 on the other side. If you need to, you can take your needle and just move those 15-0s around too. I've done that quite a bit as I'm making this. Then I'm going to come up through this 8-0 and through this 11-0. And I'm going to go ahead and extend my Fireline off camera real quick, and then we'll come back and we'll attach one more unit so you can see how to do that. Then we'll go to length, and we will put our clasping on the other end. Okay, so I have extended my Fireline. If you don't know how to do that, I will post a link for the video that I made for my beginners channel to teach you how to do that, and that will be below or in the description box below the video player. So I've extended my Fireline. I'm coming out of this 11-0 right here. Let's get a little closer, and let's pick up 2 8-0 seed beads and go into the other side of the 11-0 and pull through like so. Now I'm going to secure this by sewing back through the 8-0s and the 11-0 that I'm attached to. Now I'm coming out of the 11-0 right in the middle of the 8-0s on the top and the bottom here. So my extension, there we go. And now I'm going to go up into this 8-0 here. So I'm coming out of this 11-0, I'm going to go up into this 8-0. I'm going to go into the 11-0 on my component. And then I'm going to go up into this 8-0 right here. Then I'll pick up an 11-0 in my turquoise color and come through this 8-0 right here. Then I'll come over to this 8-0 here. My thread is stuck. Hang on, guys. Got stuck on my chair. And then I'll pick up an 11-0 and go into this one here. So I'm coming out of this 8-0, I'm going to go into this 8-0 right here. Pull my thread through, go through this 11-0 on the unit again. Just trying to get around those 15-0s is a lot of fun. But you can do it, and you can also move those out of the way a little bit too. There's a little bit of play in the thread. Now I'm going to go up through all 3 of these beads on this side. So the 8-0, the 11-0, and the 8-0. If I can get through them, geez. This really shouldn't be that hard. There we go. Now I'm just going to go through this 8-0 here. I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to go through this one. And then up through the one next to it just to straighten them out and strengthen them. Pull that thread down between the beads here. Make sure it goes down because it kind of wants to lay on top, so make sure it goes in there. And then pick up 2 8-0 seed beads. Come from this one to this one. And then back. Cross your thread over, go back through the 2 on this side. And then go from this bead to this bead and secure them. Pull that thread down in there and do that one more time. 2 8-0s. Go from the 8-0 you're coming out of into the one next to the one you're coming out of. Pull them down. Try not to pull them out of whack. Go up into the one next to the one you're coming out of now and up through the new beads. Pull it together and then go from this 8-0 to this 8-0. and then sew down all 3 of these 8/0s on this side and exit. Pick up, my thread keeps getting caught on my chair. That's never happened before. Let me rearrange my thread here. Okay. Now pick up an 11/0 seed bead of your second color and a crystal and
an 11/0, like so. So we're going to go
into the top of all 3 of these that we're exiting here. Pull this down and then go into the column next to the column you just attached to. So go up through all 3 of these 8/0 seed beads. Push this over the top. Pick up an 11/0. Go down through the crystal. And then pick up an 11/0 and come back up through all 3 of the seed beads here. Tighten it
so that your embellishment looks pretty. Let's get just a little closer so you can see it.
And now we have to make the attachment for our next one. So we are going to pick up our next one and go through the 11/0 on the next one. So we're coming out of
this 8/0 right here.
We're going to go into the 11/0 on the same side, making sure that your component's going to be face up. And then you're going to go down through all 3 of the 8/0s on
this side here.
You can turn it over if it's easier to see what you're doing. And let's go ahead and, well, let me go through it. Now I'm going to go through all 3. Make sure your embellishment is tight too. And then go through all 3 of just the 8/0s on this side. Sorry, I'm a little clumsy at the moment because I don't know why. I just am. Going to come up through all 3 of these. Right here. Make sure you pull that thread down and they go between the 11/0s and the 8/0s here.
So make sure it sinks down in there.
And then come back through this 11/0 here. And we're going to secure that one more time by going down into all 3 of these 8/0s. And then hop over to these here. Right here. Pick up an 11/0 in your first color, which is my turquoise, and go from this 8/0 into this 8, or from this 8/0 on the herringbone up into the 8/0 on the component. Cross over, or actually go through the 11/0 on the component. Sorry guys. Go through this 11/0 right here. Okay. It's really not this hard. I'm just clumsy at the moment. I don't know why. And I'm going to come through, move this, I'm going to move this 15/0 out of my way. And come through this 11/0. Yeah, I didn't get the 15/0 good. Now I'm going to come down into this 8/0 here. And pick up an 11/0 and go down through all 3 of these 8/0s and pull this tight. Now I'm going to arrange this because it looks awfully thready. I don't think I got my embellishment quite tight enough. Make sure when you put your embellishment on that before you go to your next phase, everything's pulled really tight. And then I'm just going to turn this over. I'm coming out of these 8/0s. I'm going to go up into these. And the 8/0 right above the 11/0. So I've come through all three of these 8/0s, this 11/0 and this 8/0. Pull the thread down in between the beads, go into this 11/0, which is going to be easier from this side. Right here. And then I'm going to sew up into this right angle weave here. And then I'm going to sew into this 11/0 here and all the way around until I get to this unit up here. So I'll go through the 15/0s, the 11/0s, a few at a time. Try not to get anything, push it out of whack. Make sure that you're just careful and slow if you need to be. Then I'm going to sew up here. Into this 11/0 here. Thread's just getting caught on everything. Up into this 8/0 here. And this 11/0 here. And then I will begin by picking up 2 8/0s, go back around, and do it exactly how I did the other two, and just continue until you've put all 5 of your components on. Of course, you will want to check your length. If you feel that you only need 4 components, then great. If you feel like you need 6 components, then great too. You'll just have to check the length and see what you need for your particular
length. Now I'm going to sew back down through, sew up into these beads, bring an 11/0 in between, and then again bring 11/0 between on this side, and then start my herringbone, put my embellishment on the top, and then attach my next unit.
So
I have finished putting my 5 components together, and now I have connected my last component that I left the long string on also. So remember we had in the beginning decided to put 2 threads on 2 units. So this is the very last one here. And I'm just going to go ahead and tie off this one that I started with. So I connected this unit with this thread. Now you don't have to do this. You can cut this thread off, the long one we left, and you can just continue using the thread that we've been using, sew up through the back, and put your clasping on if you'd like. But since I told you to leave on 2 threads, I'm just going to cut this one off after I knot it off. So I've connected my last unit here, and I'm coming out of, let's see, I'm coming out of this 11/0 here. So I'm just going to go up into this side one here. I'm sorry, I'm very clumsy today. I squashed my finger, I heard it, so it's kind of hindering me a little bit. So I've just sewn around this entire connection. I'm going to go back into this one that connects my extension between the units here. Oops, I hope I was in camera. I wasn't even paying the slightest bit of attention, sorry. Now I'm going to sew down all of these here,
come into here, and we've sewn through these quite a bit, so they're getting a little tight. I'm going to tie a knot right here between this 8/0 and the 11/0 I'm coming out of. If I can get between them, there should be a little thread bridge right there. Just not too coordinated. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go all the way back down this side. And I'll just tie a knot right up here. So I'm just going to go on this thread bridge right here because it seems to be a little bit more accessible to me. I'll make a loop. And there, I have tied a knot. Then I'm just going to sew back into this one if I can get into it. And I've lost my thread. So anyway, I'm going to sew back through that one and then cut this thread off. So I'm just going to leave it there for now. And then we're going to go up here. Now that that one's all tied off, I'm going to sew it back through and tie it a little bit more. And then I'm just going to use this thread that I left on my last unit, and I've got a needle. And like I said, you can simplify this. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can continue using the same thread you've been using all along if you'd like. Now I'm going to go up into this 11/0 right here, and I am going to pick up 2 8/0s and go back through the 11/0 right here. Then I'm going to sew back through this and come down into this unit here. Make sure I'm not in any 15/0. Up through here, pick up an 11/0, go into the 8/0, then I'll go down into this 8/0 over here, pick up an 11/0, sew back through, see if I can get through this one again. It doesn't seem to be too full. I just can't get past all my stupid little 15/0s. Stupid little things. There we go. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to pick up an 11/0 and an 8/0 and drop them down. Then I'm going to pick up my clasp and go through it, and then I'm going to go through my 8/0 right here in just the 8/0 like so. Hold on to it, pull it down, pick up an 11/0, go into this 8/0 here. See if I can get back through this 11/0 again. See, that's the problem with sewing through one bead so much, is it can be hindering. If you see, I'm just moving my 15/0s out of the way, and you may have to do that on several units. And then we're going to go up through here, sew back through, coming up through the 11-0, the 8-0, and the clasp, back down, and then this time I'm just going to cross over and go through these 8-0s so I don't have to go back down through that 11-0 again. But I can put another pass of thread through my clasping. So I like to have at least 3 passes through it. So up through this 8-0, cross your thread over, go into the 8-0 and the 11-0, the 8-0 on top of that, go into the clasp, and back down into your 8-0, into this 11-0 and 8-0 here, and then I'm going to sew all the way back down this time. Now I'm going to go through this 11-0 one more time, get to the back of my unit, and sew through and tie off. So I'm going through this 11-0. Don't think I got a 15-0, and I'm going to turn it over, and then I am going to go through these 15-0s right here, and I'll just come down around and sew into these beads because they are looser. I'm going to tie a knot right here. And then just to secure it even more, I'm just going to sew around this right angle weave because I don't want it to just be anchored to those 15-0s. So I'm going to sew right around this right angle weave unit. Just as long as you follow your beads the way that you originally put them on. You can sew through any of them any way you want. Now I'm going to come back through this direction. So into this one. Now I'm just going to cut my thread off. So just make sure that you didn't move your beads around on your Rivoli. And I will go ahead and cut off my 2 threads. I'm going to sew this one in a little bit more and cut them off, burn them down, and I will come back and show you what we just made. So I have finished my bracelet. I'll show you it off at the ruler in just a second, but you can see, and I center it on the round toggle part here, it's just a little over 7 inches. So my wrist being 6.5 inches, it fits perfectly. Let me show you what it looks like now that I have cut down both threads and I have sewn that second one through, or the first one that I left long. I sewed that through a little bit more, cut it off, burned it down, cut off the one that we attached the clasp with, burned it down, and this is what I have. Let me put it on my arm and I will show you what it looks like. It turned out really, really, really pretty. And it fits me just right. It has movement and it's just right. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's very comfortable. Stays on really nice, looks really good. And that's what that looks like. I think it turned out really pretty. So I hope you were able to follow well. I was designing, and when I'm designing, sometimes things get a little choppy, but hopefully everything comes together well by the time I edit, and you will be able to follow well. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.